Tonight on Land Speculation, we are going to be drilling deep into the once idyllic city of Minneapolis, not the capital city of Minnesota, but a very important city nonetheless that in summertime is all beautiful, but which in January time is all full of ice. And perhaps more noteworthily, ICE protesters who say, ice out of Minneapolis. We are family. Ice out, get out, defend our communities from ICE. And so it has been a chaotic several weeks, a chaotic last few days, and we're going to break it all down tonight here on Land Speculation on YouTube.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack.
This is Land, that ain't just speculation. That's something we do with kinky.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack.
Honk, 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 honk. Where's your money?
That would be weird.
Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Let's see. I eat bars of soap for breakfast. I love bars of soap. After midnight, things get weird.
Quack, quack.
Oh no. Oh no.
Let it go. Let it go. Cock.
I like that one.
Quack, 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 quack.
Come on, ducks. All right. Welcome to Land Speculation live on YouTube. That looks like a guy holding up is that a street sign or is that a chair? I think that's a street sign that he is getting ready to throw into a fire in a building that looks like it is on fire there in the city of Minneapolis. Well, let's put that out of the way here for just a quick second while we say hello to everyone. Jeanette Quiet Castle and Mr. White, you guys are the medal winners tonight. Congratulations. Thank you for finding us and joining us on Land Speculation live on YouTube. And if you wouldn't mind dropping a like and a subscribe on the video as we get started out of the gate, I appreciate that. Those likes help us out with YouTube. The subscribes help you guys know when we are on. Check our description for the link to our Discord, the link to our Duck Fund, and the link to our sister channel, Land Ducks International, where we continue uploading things periodically. I can't remember if we had anything going up tonight or not, but anyway, lots of little short videos of live, authentic footage from around the world that we are continuing to upload and share with you guys. So join that if you can, and if you want to. You know, you don't have to. And yeah, we're going to talk about Minneapolis tonight. And Mr. White kicking it off here saying, pissed about all this stuff going on. Well, boy, doesn't it seem like a lot of people are pissed off. I don't know what the hell happened in America. Suddenly we got all pissed off. I mean, we've been pissed off for a while, but like, didn't it seem like just yesterday that the Cold War was ending and it was the era of good feelings and we were all headed toward a long and prosperous future together in which we would all enjoy eternal life and eternal happiness and eternal prosperity? And yet somehow America became this like chaotic hellscape. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about my take on all this. And, you know, I get it. A lot of people are really pissed off about what's going on. There are people looking out there and they're thinking like, goodness gracious, we got like rapists and child molesters and murderers and bad people who also illegally invaded the country. And like, why in the hell are these people being given the benefit of the doubt when it comes to all this ICE stuff? Why are there so many people incensed on behalf of these bad actors, seemingly against the good actors in the United States? And so let's talk a little bit about some of that. It does feel a little bit like, well, this is, okay, here's a scene from Minneapolis. Neighbors say ICE out. There's some serious dedication to the protesters in Minneapolis right now. I mean, the people out there right now they're out there protesting in substantially like sub-zero temperatures. In Minneapolis, it has been literally like dozens of degrees below zero. Now, I know they're used to ice in Minneapolis in January. And I should say, you know, we did stream outdoors a couple days ago, a couple times, as we were monitoring our own ice raid here in Washington, D.C. And that was very eventful, very cold. If you missed those streams, go and watch them. There is still ice all over the streets of Washington, D.C., and so we are hunkering down to avoid ice and make sure that we, too, don't succumb to this scourge that has overtaken this the great North Woods, which I guess is the Minneapolis area. So, yeah, printed signs. We are family signs. Defend, just say defend. I don't know what the word we're defending. We're defending something, but that is the rhetoric on the signs here, and it does feel a little bit like we are, as usual, engaged in a sort of cosplay revolution. We put Ice Revolution in the thumbnail today. It does feel a little bit manufactured, a little bit over the top, but what isn't over the top in America these days? Where aren't we having some kind of hyperbolic meltdown at every turn and every corner? You know, a few months ago it was Doge had everybody pissed off, and then it had the no kings everybody pissed off, and then Greenland had everybody pissed. Greenland had everybody pissed off like a week ago, and Venezuela had everybody pissed off like a week before that. People are just angry. They're really, really, really freaking angry, and Minneapolis is particularly a bastion of anger right now. People really, really, really upset with the ICE. They're really, really upset over the shootings of, you can't make it up, the names Pretty and Good were shot by ICE agents. And now there's a whole ICE reset going on in Minneapolis, in which maybe ICE is going to work more closely with the state government, and maybe they're not going to arrest people who are just here illegally and who don't have other like felonies to their name. And that has some people incensed. And the governor and the mayor have at least temporarily scaled back their rhetoric a little bit from saying that Minneapolis residents should get out and like fight in the streets against the federal officers. And so maybe we're scaling back the cosplay revolution just a little bit. I don't know. I want to talk a little bit about it. I want to talk and scale things back a little bit, because you know, there's a lot of takes out there on the internet. I'm sure, you know, if you guys want to get the takes that satisfy all of the partisan rage that people feel out there, there are plenty of places you can get some of that. So I'm going to try to offer something a little bit different here, a little bit broader perspective. And I guess I want to kind of frame this back in time, because the notion that America is engaged in a sort of revolutionary struggle for our very existence and our very identity may seem like a brand new thing since last week, but in fact, it has been going on for a very long time. The reality is, if we go back to the founding of this country, the whole reason this country exists is because brave soldiers, you guys know this, brave soldiers decided to stand up and they fought against the British Crown, who they felt was unfairly taxing them. And they waged a revolutionary war. A revolutionary war that seemed it was a pretty big war at the time. Actually didn't kill that many people relative to later wars, but it was a pretty darn big deal. But these the people that settled the country, they were like, we want our freedom. We don't want the government imposing its will against us, and we therefore declare that this is an untenable situation, and we're going to literally take up arms. We're going to leave our families behind. We're going to take muskets into the streets, and we're going to go fight the then most powerful military in the world. And lo and behold, with a little bit of help from the French, they made it happen, and miraculously this grand old country was born in 1776. And we thought we had it all solved. We thought we would all just settle down and everything would be easy street. But so it was not the case, because within 40 years, we had once again the British, the goddamn British, breathing down our necks. And we had to fight a whole nother frickin' war. And that War of 1812 killed just about as many people as the entire Revolutionary War once over again. We endured the burning of the Capitol and the White House, and we defended the honor and the dignity and the sovereignty of our country, and somehow, despite none of the battles seemingly adding up to anything that amounts to that, it somehow preserved the sovereignty of the country, and we survived, and we warded off the British, and we crowned new heroes like Andrew Jackson, who became a president in waiting after his heroism there in the War of 1812. Count our way through another few wars and another few decades, and by the time the 1850s rolled around, war was a-brewing again. No sooner had we fought the Mexican-American War than we had the states bickering with each other. And so in 1861, we took up arms. People left their homes. They went out into the streets, and giddily they embarked on a war that became much longer and much bloodier and much more tumultuous than any of them had ever expected. Countrymen against countrymen, the Union prevailed, preserved the coherence of the country. Slavery was, the slaves were emancipated, and by the end of 1865, the Confederacy was no more. Abraham Lincoln was dead. Many had perished. Much of the nation's soul had been laid bare on the battlefield, but America had survived through it all, and we soldiered on to see a new day, perhaps a better day as a country. And so we moved forward. And lest we thought that was the end of our struggles with tumult, with war, and with marching on the streets to fight our fellow countrymen, so too again did we have to fight more battles. The Spanish-American War, which, I don't know, maybe we didn't really have to fight that one, but we did it anyway, and we claimed, new territories for ourselves and warded off enemies and found new heroes and found a new generation of heroism to crown, which only prepared us for yet another struggle as we embarked into the 20th century, some of the bloodiest struggles yet. And so it was, 1917, America enters World War I. World War I, we had our bloodiest battle to date. 321,000 Americans perished between 1914 and 1918. America went to war not really so much on behalf of ourselves, because we thought it was the right thing to do, to go intervene in the politics of Europe, as every European nation was fighting every other European nation based on hard to discern various treaty agreements, and we waged like a really, really, really unpleasant war. We went deep in the trenches, We fought alongside our brethren, the British and the French, and we defended I didn't whatever the hell we were defending in World War One, and somehow the Allies more or less prevailed, even though they maybe punished the enemies a little too much, and then created the ingredients to forge yet another whole world war. And so it was. We did it all over again just a few decades later. World War II, we were back in the streets, or I guess more accurately, back across the pond. And this time, even more people died. 671,000 American troops perished in the civil, in the, no, we're at World War II. World War II. All over Europe, all over the islands of the Pacific. And somehow, in its moment of peril, we bailed out the rest of the world, as we always seem to. And at the cost of great toil, tumult, and in many cases American lives and American limbs, we saved the world from Nazi imperialism and from whatever the hell Japan was going to do to the world if they were victorious. And so we created a new world order that emerged after World War II that was very prosperous, in which we essentially set the stage for a new generation, which America would be more or less on top. We helped rebuild Europe and took over the diplomatic relations of the world just in time to see a new enemy emerge. And so come the 1950s and 1960s, our children were scared crapless underneath their desks awaiting a potential nuclear holocaust at the hands of the Soviet Union. The Cold War barreled on for, 4 or 5 decades. Americans were terrified as we fought an existential enemy, a superpower on the other side of the world that for a while it seemed like we might never defeat, and then eventually we did. Because we sent a guy to the moon, and that defeated the Soviets, and they cowered in fear, and they got all scared because the Americans had done what they couldn't do in the space race. And along the way, we fought more wars. We went to Vietnam. We sent lots and lots of troops over to Vietnam, and maybe we achieved something, and maybe we didn't, and who the hell knows. And then we soldiered on and on and on and on, and we stumbled our way. We thought we were done with wars, the end of the Soviet Union. We thought the New World Order was going to be a post-war universe, and lest it was not the case. Because Saddam Hussein decided to invade Kuwait, and we thought it was incumbent upon ourselves and the rest of the free nations of the world to defend another. And so we went into Kuwait, and a new generation of more lightly camouflaged tanks and aircraft, and in a miraculously expedient war, expelled Saddam Hussein from Kuwait, won the battle, won the war, and regained our confidence after the trials of Vietnam. And what a great day that was. Norman Schwarzkopf and the victorious Americans. And come the 20th century, of course, we had 9/11, more wars, Afghanistan, in Iraq. We went, we fought valiantly. Some say we went at least into Iraq for not the best reasons, or maybe errant reasons, but nevertheless, American troops went. They fought for their country. They fought valiantly. Many of them perished. Many of them came back heroes. And so America's everlasting efforts to renew the freedom and the independence and the values of this great, great country continued on. As they say, freedom is never free. And so it has been across the generations. America tasked with rebuilding itself, defending what it stands for over and over and over and over and over again. All of these wars along the way giving Americans a sort of, let's call it outlet, if we want to be cynical, for a bit of primal bloodlust. As creatures like organic beings, organic animals that emerged out of tribal infighting and outfighting for tens of thousands of years before we invented our modern society, the need to gain solidarity amongst ourselves and fight against enemies is kind of intrinsic to the DNA of us as it is to all people. no matter how nice of a society we build. And at least up through the Iraq War, we have seemingly found outlets for it whenever it so seemed that we were about to embark on a period of peace. We found outlets for more fighting. And along the way, we forged a great many heroes that have become the namesakes of the great monuments of our country, the people that we put on our money, the people that we look up to, at least in theory, at least in the older textbooks, maybe not some of the newer textbooks, but at least historically. There were the great figures like George Washington, the great hero of the Revolutionary War turned unanimously elected first president, the person who set the stage, set the basic foundations of what it meant to be a leader in the United States of America. There was Andrew Jackson, who emerged out of the War of 1812 and the Battle of New Orleans, who became the president later on in the 1830s. There were other heroes. Ulysses Grant emerged from the Civil War, the greatest Union hero to emerge from that war, turned the very next elected president after the Johnson administration, served 2 terms. For a long time, that's what we did. We elected our war heroes, and Ulysses S. Grant was a war hero, a bit of an underrated president. Over and over and over and over again, we elected our war heroes, our great leaders, because they were people that organized our ability to recognize our values, to appreciate the debts that had been paid for our freedoms, and the need for us to respect, appreciate, and embody the order, the sanctity, and the reality of what it means to have this country. It didn't always translate to the presidency. There were figures like General Patton, who were deemed a little bit too out there to be president, but nevertheless were seen as great national heroes. But then there were others who did become president, like Dwight Eisenhower, who, having been the commanding general of the armies during World War II, became president in 1953, served 2 terms, and became one of our most consequential leaders that set the agenda for an extroverted America that would shape world events in our interest across the back half of the 20th century. There were others. Norman Schwarzkopf never quite made it. Colin Powell never quite made it. And so we have drifted a little bit from our military roots, the roots in which we fought big, gigantic global struggles and rewarded the heroes and refreshed in the American consciousness and appreciation for our values and our identity as a country. Through those wars and those battles, we built a nation that our forefathers and our ancestors could only have dreamed of. A nation that is so prosperous and so luxurious and so just profoundly wonderful that it belies every ounce of cynicism and ungratefulness that we show for it today. We live in houses that are 5, 6, 7 times as large as the houses in Asia, and twice as large as the houses in Europe, all for cheaper prices than they can get, with nicer amenities and nicer finishes and nicer lawns and yards where we play catch and let the dog roam free. Who the hell can have a pet dog in human history? Not for protection, but just to play the frickin' frisbee with. We have mail order food services where people prepare fresh meals in a Michelin-starred kitchen for dogs inside of our giant McMansions that we take for granted. We drive enormous vehicles. We can travel at astronomical speeds that would astound our forefathers. The notion that we could travel at 60 to 80 miles an hour across town and subsequently, as a result, build economies of scale where we could have Fortune 500 companies, where we could take the same vehicle to the office as we used to go haul logs on the weekend, or go skiing somewhere in Colorado, or whatever the hell this lady's doing with a truck that is seemingly many, many, many times bigger than she is. It's a tremendous, tremendous luxury that we have these vehicles, that we have the fuel, we have unearthed the technological know-how to dig the fuel out of the ground to move these vehicles down the road back to our giant McMansions. within which we have astronomical double-wide fridges full of food that we have sourced from all over the world. Literally food from every continent in the world. We can get fruits and vegetables of every kind 365 days a year, including foods and fruits that are out of season here. We store them in climate-controlled environments. We cook them on precisely curated and safe kitchen equipment. And we feed our families a feast of safe, healthy food, unlike we could have possibly imagined. Rather than working every second of our lives, we get to go ride roller coasters. Rather than vehicles just being a mode of transportation, we get to ride vehicles as a form of entertainment and somehow not die along the way because we have curated safety standards that allow us to do so. We've built Hollywood. We entertain ourselves. Not with, was it nunchucks? What the hell's a nunchuck? You know the whole ballet, The Nutcracker? It's like super depressing when you think about it historically. Somebody wrote a whole ballet because they were inspired by a wooden nutcracker sitting on their coffee table. Because life was once so dark and so dreary and so boring that was what people found inspiring and entertaining. And now, when I ride on the airplane, I can log on to the American Airlines in-flight movie system, and I can watch hundreds, if not thousands, of movies at the tip of my finger while traveling 600 miles an hour through the air cross-country in just a few hours. There are people that make livings with extraordinary lavishness beyond which anybody anywhere in the world, including kings, could possibly have imagined just a few short centuries ago, for making movies, for pretending to be other people while a camera films them. What is a camera, you might say? The Founding Fathers would have had no idea. We have built giant malls with stores out the wazoo, indoor ice rinks. We've grown so bored with the malls that we can't even support the stores in them anymore, and yet we still build them anyway, just so we have a place to go during the cold winter months. We literally now have AI sex robots. This is what we have done with the endowment of history. Like, history has fought these wars, and they have given us this country. And this is what we do with it. We make sex robots because lest you can't get a date on any of the online dating services where you can talk with literally anybody in the world at any time, you can still experience like unlimited, I guess, pleasure by dating a robot. Isn't that cool? Man, that's going to transform things, isn't it? We have like unlimited food. Rather than starving to death like 99% of all the other people who have ever lived, our biggest problem in America is that we have way too much food that we can access way too easily and way too much money so that there's no constraints on our ability to access it. And so we eat and we eat and we eat so much that we get diabetes and heart disease and we kill ourselves because we ate too much. And then we invent pills so we don't even have to put in the work of losing the weight. So we can lose the weight just by continuing to sit on our fat asses and eat more and watch the Hollywood movies that someone's earning $20, $40, $60 million for the mere privilege of creating. How freaking obnoxious is it that as a society and as a culture, we have a literal contest that is televised around the world called the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest, where just for the fun of it, we shovel food in our mouths to the point of literally needing surgeries because we have eaten too much too fast. Just for entertainment. Can you imagine what, like, the poor children, like the poor Biafran children of Africa, are feeling when they watch the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest? The overwhelming majority of people around the world throughout the 20th century who literally starved to death because they couldn't get enough nourishment When they turn on their YouTube TV and they watch the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, they must be appalled. Oh, wait, you're telling me they don't have YouTube TV? I guess the joke's on them. We have so much expendable income that we just throw money at building gigantic stadiums, ever bigger, and replacing them every 10 to 15 years, so that we can hold utterly superfluous entertainment events like the Super Bowl and stream them all over the world with extravagant and gluttonous halftime shows of people gyrating their bodies and singing songs, and overpay athletes tens, hundreds of millions of dollars for doing nothing but throwing a ball across the field and producing nothing of actually particularly articulable substantive value. And we do it without thinking about it and complain that we don't get to do it even more. And we addle out our brains on things like TikTok, these incredible technologies that would be miraculous if they weren't degrading the physical fabric of our being and weren't tearing our society apart by aligning people into algorithms that force them into partisan echo chambers that teach them to hate their neighbors. And you might ask, like, why am I off on this sort of weird tangent? Well, there is a contrast between the battles we once had to fight in this country in order to attain all of this crazy, crazy happiness. Like, for generations and generations and generations, we renewed the values, the spirit, the freedom of this country by shedding blood and going to war in order to renew it. And in turn, we created the most incredible place that people across history could possibly imagine. A place that is so pleasant and so luxurious that our founding fathers could not even begin to dream of the kinds of luxuries we enjoy today. And so now we inhabit places like this. Apartment complexes where you get everything you need. There is a Trader Joe's down the street. There is a gym in the building. There's even a pool with, look at those little fun lounge chairs. There is coffee brewed daily in the mornings. You can pick it up. Starting at 6 in the morning, it runs until 10:30. It's free, so long as you pay your rent on time. And yet somehow this existence that provides us everything we need is not providing us everything we need. We have made our lives extremely, extremely easy. We get to live extremely, extremely gluttonous lives. But somehow, the part of us that was inculcated into existence across tens of thousands of years, the tens of thousands of years documented at our natural history museums, in which we had to fight in small bands of tribal individuals against the elements, against each other, and against the saber-toothed tigers and the woolly mammoths of yesteryear, is somehow not being satisfied. Somehow, getting to go to the gym and sit by the pool and enjoy the teak and quartz countertop surfaces within our supposedly luxury apartments is not fulfilling the intrinsic bloodlust we need as biological creatures. And it is leaving us wanting. It is leaving us unfulfilled. Because much as we believe we want luxury and peace, as much as we believe we want gluttony and food and leisure and harmony, the truth is every time we look around that next corner, what we really want to do, what we are trained to do deep in our DNA, is to fight the woolly mammoth. And so we look for outlets. We sit around in unimaginable luxury, and we are still yet somehow riddled with depression and anxiety, or at least so we self-define. We have decided that our lives are not good enough, despite having everything we could possibly design for ourselves. It's like a Ray Bradbury novel that has everything you could want in life and yet still is unfulfilling. This is our reality. More people are depressed today than they were in the eras in which we had to fight wars merely to survive, in which we were poor and destitute and didn't know if we would have a next meal. Why is that? Why is that? We're all addled out on anxiety medications. We look to make up for it in various ways. Some of us sit around and we play video games like 24/7, because at least in the video game, you get to have a soul. You get to go on adventures. You get to be someone that has a more interesting life than the mundane life you have by the pool in your apartment. You get to go kick things and shoot people and explore rabid jungles and fight bosses off in the wildebeest something something something. I don't know what happens in video. Whatever the hell you do in video games, people seem to like that. They seem to like doing it. And so many people are addled out on the video games, and that's how they entertain themselves. And then there are other people who maybe they still play the video games, but they double the effect by addling themselves out on various illicit drugs. And as a society, we've decided this is the way to go. This is what we want to do now as a society. We just want to get all addicted to drugs, and wouldn't that be fun? Because that at least gives us a little bit of a sense of feeling in our brains or somewhere deep in our bodies. You want to overconsume something that makes you throw up, that makes you lose your inhibitions and gives you extra sensory feelings. At least it's something, right? Because at least then you don't endure the monotonous boringness of living in the most prosperous and luxurious society in the history of the world. Some people live out their bloodlust through sports. It probably would be a good thing if more people took out their bloodlust through sports, and fewer of it did it through politics. Sports is superfluously silly. It makes absolutely no sense to me why I let all of my bodily anxieties shoot through the roof to about an 11 just because of some team playing some game on a Saturday in the fall that doesn't ultimately matter. And yet I do it. And why do I do it? Because even though I hate it, it's really frickin' fun, and it satisfies something deep and spiritual that I need, like deep in my DNA. When we didn't have that in 2020, you saw the consequences. People had to take that out elsewhere. Now, some people at the very bottom of the barrel, just looking for anything in their lives, seek to find that satisfaction by going to Costco. And they price compare, and they fight little tribal battles about how great Costco is compared to Sam's Club, and they price check and they coupon. And holy crap, are there a large number of incredibly annoying and lame YouTube channels. People literally weighing the food from Costco so they can compare it to the food from other miraculous dining establishments and tell you which one they think is better by 1% or more. If you're a Costco addicted person and you think that's like the point of your existence is to fanboy for Costco, like what a shame of a life that is. Inquiring Minds, I really appreciate the $5 super chat there. Very much, very much. If you want to ask for something in particular, let me know. You're saying keep it up. So I'll get back to it here and keep it up. Yeah, don't be a Costco fanboy. Don't be a Sam's Club fanboy. If you're one of those people, like, you need to find a hobby in your life. And hopefully your hobby isn't burning down the fire station in greater Minneapolis. So you've got the video gamers, you've got the druggies, you've got the sports people, you've got the Costco people. I knew someone that made it a little bit more literal. You know, somebody that didn't ever have to dare to fight in an actual military, but somebody who found it quite interesting and entertaining to engage in military reenactments of past battles. And it was actually quite fascinating to talk to this person because they went and they would learn the battles from the Civil War, and they would go out with some various cohort of presumably fairly nerdy people and go and engage in recorded reenactments of Civil War battles. And you would pretend to shoot people, and you would pretend to die, and maybe fulfill deep within his psyche some need to experience what his forefathers had experienced, the sensation of carrying one's duty to fight for the freedoms that your family can then enjoy. And maybe there's something that just it taps into a little something for people. I also had a history teacher who, in grade school, who pointed out when they showed us the movie in class that he had been an extra in the movie Glory, which is a movie about a few battles during the Civil War. And I guess I can't remember whether he was playing a Union or a Confederate soldier, but there's a scene in that movie where he literally gets shot and he tumbles down the hillside at this Confederate fort that the Union soldiers are trying to take unsuccessfully. And that'd be kind of a fun thing to have in your back pocket in life, be an extra in a little reenactment movie about one of the great wars of human history. And so people find various ways to take out this deep and this kind of intrinsic bloodlust we all share as human beings, as Americans, as part of our legacy, as part of our birthright. And then there are others who find other ways to live out that great, deep, and intrinsic need as humans to engage in the sense of struggle against an existential enemy. And we've seen that at play here over the last few weeks in Minneapolis. I bet you guys were like, where the hell is he going with this stream? Well, fire bombings persist in Milwaukee and Minneapolis, and I didn't realize actually quite how much firebombing and fire was happening in Minneapolis amid the sub-zero temperatures. A lot of people out really like looking to quote unquote fuck things up because they're very, very, very incensed. And as someone who's been kind of sitting this one out for the most part, not really having too much of a perspective one way or the other, or really engaging in the daily news cycles on it all, it's pretty jarring, I will say, to go on the social media and look around and see all these people who are like deeply, 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 deeply enraged, like to the point of literally like being willing to almost sacrifice their lives, and in some cases literally to sacrifice their lives for the sake of whatever the hell this little cosplay revolution is that they're fighting. And I guess who am I to minimize the struggle, whatever the struggle is here. There are two symptoms, I think, for what's going on. The first is this phenomenon, this phenomenon where everybody now has to be the hero of their own story. Everybody is like, what's the term? The first player character. What do we call it? What do we call it? The main character in a video game. I'm forgetting the term here. Everybody's like the main character in their own little story here. That's what's going on. Everybody spends so much time on social media, on Instagram, taking photos and selfies of themselves. And then you go on YouTube and you can create anything you want. You can spew it out to anybody in the world. It makes you feel important. It makes you feel like you, too, can make the difference in the world. And then you go on your video game and you play it and you're the hero. Everybody wants to be the hero. Everybody thinks they can be the hero. Everyone is the main character in their own little saga. Keyboard warriors, sure. It's easy. It's easy. Like, Andrew Jackson had to go, like, win the frickin' Battle of New Orleans at a time when, like, even traveling, like, a few hundred yards was hard to become a hero in his day. Now, why would you bother having actual ambition when you can just be a nihilist? Why would you respect the structures of the country when you can be a hero without having to give them any heed at all? You can go get popular and feel good and get clicks and be a hero just by taking little actions, little steps. Post a hashtag, change your profile pic, go out there and launch a firebomb at a fire station, go out and, take a gun and threaten to shoot an ICE agent in the face. It's all the same. not really a serious world that we live in or anything. Nothing to live for. Everyone's the hero in their own story. That's the first part of the problem at play here. Everyone thinks that they alone can go fight the Civil War, the next great battle of human existence, which would be fine if people applied some rational thinking and realized that maybe not every little thing merits the next big civil war. And yet we have 2012 syndrome happening as well, because people get algorithmed into these little echo chambers on the internet, and everyone thinks they're fighting the next great battle, and the next great battle, the apocalypse, will happen within your lifetime. The apocalypse is not happening within your lifetime. Statistically, it's just not happening within your lifetime. 2012 was never going to be the end of the world, nor was 2008. The late Ronald Wineland wrote a book that I have sitting in a bookshelf, 2008, God's Final Witness. If you believe that God is going to end humanity within your lifetime, that's an arrogant point of view. And lest I speak ill of Ronald Wineland, the late guy who wrote that book, and then I guess he didn't happen, and then he changed it to 2012. The world didn't end in 2012. The existential issue that is going to doom humanity is not going to happen today or tomorrow. And if it ever happens, you're probably not going to be the first one to get there. And you probably won't solve it on your own. Somewhere out there, there is a George Washington who will be the hero of something this century that will be of consequence and which will change the world meaningfully. And it probably is not going to be you. And if it is, like, hell, you can come and slap me around a little bit when I'm wrong. But it's probably not. It's probably not, and I feel comfortable enough with the odds to tell you that it is almost certainly not going to be you. And so the combination is this sort of universe of passion plays. These are the wailers at the Kim Jong-il funeral in North Korea back in 2011. Similar to the wailers after the Kim Jong-un funeral, when, I don't know, which one's the dear leader and the great leader and the whatever leader in North Korea perished. See, they were required to go out there and pretend like it was the end of days because their abusive totalitarian head of state had perished, only to be replaced by their offspring. So they had to pretend because they would quite literally be killed if they didn't. At least so the story goes. And yet, this feels awfully akin to what we have going on in the United States. A lot of people going out into the streets, cosplaying a sort of weird oppression revolutionary thing where they think that somehow because the immigration laws in this country are being enforced, that it is the end of days. And I frankly have been surprised at the broad media reaction to this. Not the mainstream media. We know what the mainstream media are always going to say. We know that they are always going to pick one side on the issue. But I've been a little bit more surprised at those little bellwether media things that usually will kind of ride the center a little bit and tell you kind of which way the winds are blowing in public sentiment. There's polling data out there now that suggests that a majority of Americans believe that ICE in its entirety should be disbanded. Article after article after article in the Wall Street Journal the last few days, on their usually right-wing editorial page, has been saying, whoa, 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 ICE, it's time to shut it down in Minneapolis. How dare we enforce the laws because people don't seem to like it very much, and it's creating a bit of tumult. I've been a little surprised to read it framed in those terms. Maybe you guys have other perspectives. But I don't know if we should necessarily be giving in to the people who are perpetually engaged in a passion play of cosplay revolution just because they now sort of pose a danger to public safety by going out in the streets and wailing and fighting and threatening to quote-unquote fuck things up. I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing to give in to these people and let that kind of hysteria shut down the whole system. Peace is, of course, ultimately the end goal in all of this, but so too is sustaining a country. Here are the scenes from Minneapolis. And then they came for me. Perhaps Thou dost protest too much. Thou dost protest too much. If you're really going to cite all this World War II rhetoric. Is that right? World War II is that Russian Revolution? Where'd that one come from? And then they came for me, that little poem. It's been tossed around a lot. Probably a variety of instances in history. There's a lot of people out there that think that the government's coming for them. The government's coming for them. It's coming for you. It's going to come for all of us soon. And someday we will be out there like the Twilight Zone in the universe alone, if we are the last ones, fleeing the big scary SS who are coming for us. The ice. The ice is coming for us. Just a few years ago we were talking about the global warming. Now it's the ice. We all saw it. So apparently this pretty guy, I don't know if he was pretty. I've heard he was pretty. I didn't actually do the background check. I don't know if he was pretty, but I'm pretty sure he was pretty because all the news stations say he was pretty. And he got shot. He had a gun. Something went down. People are bickering. ICE was in the wrong. He was in the wrong. You shouldn't take a gun and threaten law enforcement. The odds are against you when you got a whole bunch of law enforcement officers with guns who are scared and what do you think's going to happen? But on the other hand, like, just because you're a citizen out there with a gun doesn't mean you're actually a threat to them. So even though the odds are high that you might spook them, you shouldn't be getting shot because it doesn't give them the right to shoot you and blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, you guys know the shtick. Like, you guys could probably cycle the arguments round and round in your sleep on whatever, quote unquote, both sides of this. Everyone wants the bad thing, the bad rationale, the bad motivation to have been the other guy. And we sit there and we dissect and we self-identify with, either the guy or the ICE agent. Then we secretly are like frustrated in our heads that, like, you know what, if I'm really being honest with myself, I think that ICE agent did do something wrong, but I can't admit it because that would be admitting the other side is right. The other side's not right because some random person did a thing in the street. Like, whether or not you think it's important to get child molesters off the street is not predicated on whether or not an ICE agent or some random guy in Minneapolis acted more right or more wrong in some individualized interaction. We said that when Renee Good was shot. Like, I don't really care. I mean, God rest all their souls. But I don't really care whether they or the ICE agents or whoever acted better in that moment. That's not the point. A lot of people out there very, very upset. Very, very upset. And so the cosplaying has escalated over the course of the last week. Here's the ICE seats. Like, that's pretty straightforward. ICE equals the swastika. I mean, literally it doesn't, but like, I guess it's like, it's supposed to be sort of a one-for-one, like an analogy. It's basically the same thing, I guess, is what the guy's saying. Tim Walz, I guess I was doing the same thing, making a Nazi comparison between ICE and, the German systematic execution of 6 million Jews. I guess. Trump's ICE commander mimicking Nazi-era style. So the guy was wearing like a jacket because it's cold in Minneapolis. Social media has been a titter with this. Trump's ICE commander mimicking Nazi-era style. That has been like everywhere. That the ICE, they're like intentionally trying to be the Nazis because it does them so much good to be characterized as Nazis. You can go on and on with this stuff. This is Greg Bavino, head of ICE, earlier today. This is not a coincidence. This is cosplay. This is emulation. This is admiration. Fuck this. So says David Krumholtz. I guess that this guy's a Nazi. There is a little bit of cosplay happening here. Norman Patterson, thank you for the $2. Really, very much appreciate that. Very, very much. Very generous. This is the age of incompetence, the age of manipulation. This kind of seem like one and the same, Norman. It's the age of narcissism and the age of, let's use our favorite term, misinformation. Misinformation leading to people with profoundly over-the-top, hyperbolic views, believing that they can go fight their own civil war and solve the problems of the earth. David Krumholtz seems very mad at this Greg Bovino guy, because Greg Bovino, I guess, is apparently on the path to exterminating millions of people. CNN. And thanks to you guys who post stuff on the Discord. I've been trying to weave some more of that into our streams. So CNN apparently airing people who are claiming that ICE is going to be putting people in ovens. I don't know. I haven't been following closely enough if ICE has actually been putting people in ovens. I don't know if that's just to warm them up because it's so cold in Minneapolis. Or, like, I guess you would want to be careful then how long you leave them in the oven. Like, sometimes you turn the space heater on, you leave it on a little too long, the room gets a little too toasty, gets uncomfortable. And the parade continues. Here, meet Melinda. This is a healthcare worker at VCU Health, apparently. She was encouraging people to inject ICE agents with a temporary paralysis drug and to spray poison on them. Also encourages women to go on dates with agents so that they can drug the ICE agent's food. So this is someone that feels isolated, I suppose, and believes that they need to go and wage the civil war against the bad people themselves by drugging their food and injecting them with things. Kane DeLone is a little bit less vague about it. She doesn't want to, go the gentle way. She wants to just shoot the ICE Nazis dead, apparently. They post on Blue Sky. No, Kane, I guess, is a guy. It looks like a guy. I don't know. I don't know Kane. Never met Kane. Maybe Kane is a great guy. This was out there. Shoot the ICE Nazis dead, allegedly. There's this guy. Democratic candidate for Ohio Attorney General says he's going to kill President Trump through capital punishment. In Ohio? Has Trump committed, felony offenses in Ohio? Be curious. I don't know what his plan is. We'll watch the whole video. There is this lady, West Virginia librarian, accused of recruiting online to kill Trump. West Virginia librarian allegedly posted videos seeking to recruit assassins targeting President Donald Trump. I don't know if you're a librarian in West Virginia, if, you're the one who really needs to head that operation. It seems like maybe somebody, higher up in the whole organism could best take care of the... it just seems a little out of your league, I don't know. I don't know. I mean... This is what I'm talking about, though. There's lots of people that seem to be fighting. They want to fight the Civil War solo. They've identified the bad actor. The media told them who the bad actor is. They're going to go out and they're going to do it themselves. Philly DA Krasner vows to hunt down ICE agents and labels them wannabe Nazis. Look at that. How about this one? FBI says woman threatened to murder agent and his family. Federal authorities arrested a woman accused of making death threats against an FBI agent and his family following a January riot that destroyed FBI equipment in Minneapolis. Guys, you don't have to fight the revolution all on your own. Okay, bulletproof vests so you can impede ICE operations that I guess even if they shoot you, that you can keep fighting the noble fight. I've watched the movie Glory, and even there, when the people get shot, they tumble down the hillside. We're saying that we're going to be braver than the people in Glory. We're going to have, bullets raining down, pelleting our bodies, and we're going to keep fighting because it's so damn important that we stop ICE from taking out the child molesters. Here's Eric, a registered Florida nurse who says he won't give anesthesia for Republicans undergoing surgery believes that it's his right and that it's ethical. I will not perform anesthesia for any surgeries or procedures for MAGA. It is my right, it is my ethical oath, and I stand behind my education. I don't know that that's in the Hippocratic Oath. Maybe he swore to a different oath. I own all of my businesses and I can refuse anyone. Well, how about that? Then there's this one. I meme, therefore I am us, or US. People need to start shooting ICE agents in ahead. All right, well, there's that one. I don't know how many of these did I pull. Goodness. Okay, there's another guy calling for ICE and Trump to be killed. All right. And then there's this one, influencer Peyton Van Est, I guess, telling followers to get guns and learn how to use them against the federal government. He says peaceful protesting is no longer enough. You have to fight the revolution yourself. You need guns and militant action. Seems to be a lot of like fetishizing the Civil War here. Okay, another social media influencer, online recruiter, urging his comrades to take up arms and kill agents of the federal government. All right, seems to be a theme going on here. Tim Walz was asked about his debate. Remember he did the debate back in 2024 against J.D. Vance? It was actually lauded somewhat for being unusually civil for a presidential or vice presidential debate. People were kind of proud that they had both been polite to each other at the time. Well, Tim Walz says that was a mistake, and that these days he would beat the shit out of J.D. Vance if he could. Then there's this. We grew up reading the story of Anne Frank, so says Governor Walz. Somebody is going to write one regarding Minnesota. A lot of World War II rhetoric, a lot of hyperbole, a lot of people really, really, really wanting this to be a sort of end of days. Here's a post. Disengage with MAGA. Don't be friends with them. Don't invite them to your table and decline invitations to theirs. Show them that their views are incompatible with being a good person, that they have no place in society. No place in society if you are a MAGA. If you don't, you're just another Nazi at the table. How about this one? I would honestly be surprised there isn't a civil war in America between now and 5 years. Someone responding, 5 years is optimistic. It will start before the devil's term is up. The devil, of course, being Donald Trump in that allusion. Somebody made like a, they like weaved something. I'm a millennial, so my retirement plan is societal collapse. Why do people want it to be the end of days quite so badly? And it makes it a little hard to parse the actual underlying ethical issues that we're talking about, which in some cases are substantive. You know, at what point, if you invaded the country illegally and you built a life here and you've been a productive citizen, is there some statute of limitations where you have overcome the initial rule breaking that you did to come in the country to the point where you shouldn't be expelled from the country? That maybe is an ethical issue that we could grapple with. And yet, somehow it has been all jostled up here with the notion that it is the end of days and this is World War II and we need to go out and shoot everybody. The United States is now officially in the first phase of civil war. Like, this is like mainstream publications we're getting into here that are talking about the literal civil war that is upon us. I guess the moral of it all is only you can fight the Civil War these days. It's incumbent upon you to identify the enemy. You got to go out there by yourself with guns and whatever else. Only you can go fight the Civil War all on your own, and you got to go do it right now. And whatever issue is at the top of the news cycle, that's the Civil War that you have to go fight. And if your little cosplay that's going on in your head becomes a literal confrontation with actual law enforcement, and actual guns get pulled and actual people get shot, I guess someone else will carry up the struggle and the whole thing will just get escalated and escalated and escalated and escalated. And then maybe someday we actually will have a civil war that we totally didn't need for basically no reason. Can people just like chill the hell out? Like it's a little over the top. It's more than a little bit over the top. I guess I should offer a little bit of my take on this because like I said I haven't even bothered watching the video of the pretty guy getting shot. I don't even know if he was pretty, but the articles all say he was pretty. So I don't know. I don't know if the ICE agent or the guy or whoever acted better or worse or whatever. I will say this all around. I have learned over the last 5 years, we've been doing our streams, a lot about myself. Back to 2020. I've learned a lot from observing the reactions of the country to various incidents, to various protests. I've learned a lot from attending more protests than I ever thought I would in my life. And I feel like I've become more jaded to them over time, a little bit wiser, a little bit more cynical, maybe even a little bit more sympathetic in some cases to the sentiments of people involved, maybe just a little bit. There are various iterations of this out there, but various, I don't know, whatever field of research you go into to research the 5 underlying moral foundations upon which people build their orientation to the society around them, their political views. Apparently there are 5. These are the things that sort of sit a layer deeper than your politics. The things that really you sort of sit there and you think about and you mull, like what really gets to me at my core, at my deepest buttons. What triggers me the most? Is it the need to display empathy to people, that we are empathetic in every case? Is it the desire that everything be fair, that there be a sort of fair and logical and rational relationship between our choices and the results of those choices that we can understand and apply equally? Is it the need for us to retain order and peace and stability in society? Is it the need to retain the hierarchies of achievement? Or is it a need to retain the systems that we've been endowed into, that we bear the great fruits of across time, and to make sure those are not lost at the idle whims of nihilistic young people? Which of the 5 is really at your foundational core, the core moral ethos of who you are as an individual? Well, I have learned when it comes to myself that while I share all of these, and there's a fair bit of research on this, that a lot of people on the center and on the right have a bit of a balance across all 5 of these, that there is a very strong streak of people on the far left where empathy is really the only one that registers when people really get sort of drilled into this through like personality testing. And that really shapes your worldview. You can understand why people are the way they are if you can think like that nobody cares about the actual structuring of a society, but all you care about is the feeling of empathy. Then I suppose it would make sense that you actually are willing to go out and march on the streets in every case where you feel even the slightest injustice has happened to someone, even if it means destabilizing the society along the way, because you don't care about that. All you care about is the empathy. Well, I've learned in my case that the one of these that rises above all of the others, just a little bit, because I kind of understand all of them, but the one that rises just a little bit above all the others is the center one. The one that's about order. The one that's about order, the one's about preserving peace and stability and not losing this incredible society, this society of like incredible stuff that we have, and like whatever it takes to tamp down on those seeking to destabilize and destruct that, because that is really, really, really dangerous. Maybe I'm even a little bit too uptight about it, but there's a lot of people who aren't uptight about it at all. So I feel a little justified in being just a little bit uptight about the order one, that the order matters, that keeping order is important, and that when people go out in the streets and try to destabilize the order, that something has to be done about that to make sure the order doesn't go away entirely. And so that's kind of where my general sentiments when it comes to these Minneapolis type things tends to land. And to me, it is extremely logical when it comes to Minneapolis that if you are out on the streets fighting against the territorial sovereignty of the United States, that you are in the wrong and that you should be punished for it. The United States is a country. If you don't believe it should be a country, that's fine, that's your belief, but don't be surprised when the United States comes to defend itself against your claim, against its right to exist with the borders that it has. ICE is out there to defend the territorial sovereignty of this country. People who have invaded the country do not have a leg to stand on. If you are out there either having invaded the country illegally, crossed its borders without permission, set up a life here against the rules and the administrative regulations of this country, or you are out on the street making violent recklessness on behalf of a claim against the territorial sovereignty of the United States, you don't have a leg to stand on in my book, and you should be punished for disobeying the territorial sovereignty of this country. That is my hardline, ordered stance. Similarly, there are police out on the streets to defend the order of this country, to stand for the laws that preserve the order that makes this country go round. We all agree to those laws. By virtue of living here, we agree to those laws. At the city level, at the state level, at the federal level, and there are federal law enforcement officers that exist to defend federal laws. Those federal laws are the laws that keep our society what it is, that keep our country intact, and they preserve the way of life that we all get to enjoy. For instance, you don't get to murder in this country. And so if you are out on the street engaging in reckless violence against law enforcement officers of this country, you are in the wrong and you should be punished for it. And if I was trying to remember what I was going for here. I threw a whole bunch of pictures up here. What was I going for? I was going for, okay, so these are Mongolian invaders. You know, every country has struggled at times with people crossing its borders and invading its country. It's like the grand old story of human history. I've looked at maps of Europe going back 2,000 years and how much those borders have shifted and changed as people invaded them. Like, if you're a country, your intent is to preserve your borders. If you have violated those borders, if you are offending the territorial sovereignty of the country, if you are fighting the people that exist to defend the territorial sovereignty of that country, or if you are yourself an illegal invader of the country, you are in the wrong, and my sense of order tells me that you have no leg to stand on, and you should be punished for it. Those are basically my perspectives on all of this, and that if you violate any of those three things, if you violate the territorial sovereignty of the country or defend those who do, if you're going to go out there with a no one is illegal on stolen land thing, that's fine, that's your opinion, but don't be surprised when the U.S. views you as an enemy because of it, because you are arguing against the territorial sovereignty of this country. If you argue against the territorial sovereignty of the country, if you fight its law enforcement, or you invade the country illegally, you are, to my layperson's perspective, with a penchant to preserve the order, the dignity, the sanctity, the treasure, the luxury that is this country. That's being an enemy combatant to the sanctity of this country. And so I don't know that I have like a lot of sympathy for people that are out in the streets um, trying to like offend the stability of the country. Like, if you don't believe in the country's borders, if you don't believe in the country's laws, like, then you are working against the country. Are you not? Like, what am I missing here? I mean, I get it. There are perhaps if you have a different moral foundation, if you have a different outlook on this country, maybe you frame this differently. But I care about the order, the sanctity of this country, basically more than I care about any of those other foundational values, more than I care about having empathy for any individual's singular individual story. I care a lot about fairness, actually. That's a big one for me. Um, Tradition, yeah, somewhat, but like it's not really so much about that. Hierarchy, meh, okay, whatever. But like order matters to me. And like to someone with my outlook, like it is absolutely incomprehensible that someone would be out there protesting this issue at all. That there would be people who invaded the country who believe they have some kind of moral leg to stand on here. Um, or that there are like I get it, like you don't go out on the street protesting thinking you're going to get shot. That's tragic. It's horrific. We talk all the time on this channel about how any death of any kind is a tragedy. Like you get to go around this country, get to go around this universe one time, and if you lose your life along the way, that sucks. No matter how it happens, it sucks. Like that goes without saying. So like I don't want to get into the nitpicking and the nuts and bolts of like did the ICE agent do this or did the guy do this or what? Like it's not about that to me. It's like if you're out if you're an illegal immigrant in this country, you're not like against the rules and you're here defending those people and you're out on the streets arguing like advocating against the sovereignty of the country, like you're in the wrong. Like that's why I'm mad at people. Not because of whatever they did in the individual instance. And I don't know. I mean, again, there are other perspectives out there. But it doesn't seem that crazy to me. And I guess for some people it does, because there are people out there that not only don't agree with that, but who are so unbelievably incensed in a different direction about the supposed lack of empathy by those that are merely there enforcing the law. Sometimes brutally, but they're enforcing the law. And getting like really heinous actors off the streets. I mean, the notion that there are people out there protesting this vehemently, believing that it's some moral birthright to do so on behalf of like horrendous murderers, rapists, child molesters, etc., is a little bit unbelievable to me. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like gaslight myself into believing there's lots of people out there that like think that like child rape is some great thing. I hope that there aren't. But like, what exactly is the argument there? These are our friends and neighbors. I don't know if they did those things. I don't know that that really counts as a good argument. But mostly, I'm trying to keep this zoomed out a bit because this is a cosplay revolution, part like 57,000.0. Like we're long past 2.0, 3.0. This is like the 570 millionth of these that we've seen in the last few years. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of consistency to it. The same people that are like, human life is precious, you got to like, what a tragedy, are the same people out there that were mocking the people they didn't agree with losing their lives a few months ago. Not to put like any individual's thoughts and opinions in the spotlight, but like if there's not going to be consistency about it, and this is like of a sudden that people are going to go out there and go out in the streets about this and claim it's literally Nazi Germany. It's not. It's hyperbole to the point of absurdity, and it is yet another episode of the cosplay revolution that we spent the first 2/3 of this essay, of this episode, diving into fairly great detail into the story behind. And you may agree with my thesis around that, and you may not, but that is the thesis that we shared here tonight. People are bored in this country, and they are desperately looking to feel anything. And the confluence of media and video games, other things like that, have convinced them that they are the main character capable of waging a civil war entirely by themselves, and maybe even have an obligation to do so because their media echo chamber is telling them they have such an imperative to do so because these issues are all tantamount to the end of days. It all amounts to people who are cosplaying a revolution, but who think they are engaged in an actual revolution. And that's what's a little freaky about it. And I'm not that into it because I don't really care about the cosplay revolution. What I care about is maintaining the order and sanctity of this country because it's a pretty damn good country. And none of the crap that's happening now is that bad that it's worth throwing it all away over any of this stuff. And yet, like, increasing numbers of people seem to be intent that we need to have some kind of civil war just for the fun of it. And we don't. And yet there is some grain of that is deep in our legacy and our lineage as a country. Because back to the very beginning, we are a country of people who literally got on boats, who were living relatively cushy lives in Europe, at least for the time they were living in, and who voluntarily left every single thing behind, knowing that like half of them were going to die along the journey. And they came here anyway to establish like a little outpost in the wilderness before even the notion that that could become sustainable, much less a future country, was a glint in anyone's eye. And they did it all because someone was trying to like nitpick the details of some like obscure aspect of the way that they worshipped in church once a week. Like, sometimes crazy people go wage revolutions on things that seem pretty small to other people. And most of the time, that cosplaying is silly. It doesn't amount to much. People unfortunately get killed along the way. But overall, you look back on 5 years and it's silly. And then other times, that becomes the seed that plants an actual revolution that overthrows the most powerful military on the world and forges the foundation of a new nation. It happened once before. I just don't know that it needs to happen again. And if there's going to be a revolution that forges a new nation, I don't know that the people that are out in the streets of Minneapolis are the founding fathers that I want to join forces with in forging that new nation. Maybe some of them are great people. Anyway, I'm off on a bit of a soapbox, aren't I? We've been rambling for a while. How are you guys doing? We should do an ad. Somebody drop a number in the chat. A good old 1 through 15. What do we got? Somebody's got to have a thought. 1 through 15. 1 through 15. Somebody help me out. Puffy the Weedfish says 9. Hi, Puffy the Weedfish. It's good to see you here on Land Speculation on YouTube. Let's see what we got. We'll try to find a number 9 here. We'll leave the ship up, at least for the moment. Let's see what we got. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Jeanette, moderator here on Land Speculation. Thanks for joining tonight's stream. Take a pause from quacking to peck at the thumbs up thingy. Those likes help the channel be recommended and let us know we did something likable. Land streams most weeknights covering all kinds of interesting content. Subscribing is a great way to make sure you don't miss a moment of the action. I've gabbed enough. Let's get back to land.
All right, we are back on Land Speculation on YouTube. My understanding is that was moderator extraordinaire Jeanette, who has was been hanging out with us here from the beginning today. Very much appreciate the work of all of our moderators, And yeah, do all the stuff that Jeanette said, the liking and the subscribing. That is all very helpful. And then check the description for the link to our Discord, our Duck Fund, and if you feel like it, go check out our sister channel, Land Ducks International. It is our second channel where we post various short and long form content, raw footage from around the world on various travels and adventures and other things like that. Trying to reserve this channel mostly for perspectives and, dare we say, like brilliant intellectual musings, and sometimes not so brilliant and not so intellectual, but whatever. It's a second channel. Have fun with it if you want, or don't. I would like you to, but you don't have to. Yeah, so that was quite the ramble, wasn't it? I was trying to read some of the chats along the way. I don't know. I'm sure I missed a bunch of things, so maybe we'll go through some now. But it's good to see a lot of folks here who I didn't have a chance to greet early on. Norman Patterson, Spyman, Calming the Chaos. Let's see, Dodger Fan is in here in the chat. Let's see, Lurky hanging around here. Puffy the Weedfish. Nightbot, good to see you, Nightbot, as always. G-Nice. Let's see, KMVT5A. Inquiring Minds. Good to see you as well. Let's see, A Day in the Life of Simone is here as well. Let's see, who else? How far is it going to let me scroll on back? Wild Bill stopped by here. Hey, Wild Bill, it's good to see you here on Land Speculation on YouTube. Tony the Night Owl, 1836. Let's see. Who else we got? And thanks, guys, for the super chats. Always appreciate those along the way there. Norman, very much appreciated. And then, let's see, Mr. White. Yeah, we said Mr. White earlier. So, it's not going to scroll back all the way, but, yeah, Mr. White has never been to a Costco. Yeah, there's like, the YouTube army of Costco sycophants is a little weird. I don't know, what's that personality type that causes people to become, like, sycophants for these brands online? Lurky has a wife who has a friend that's addicted to running to Costco. The nearest one is 26 miles away. That sounds like quite the run. That's like a full marathon. All right. I don't know what are you babbling about, Nightbot? Quiet Castle, when crazy people and anarchists get a green light from the mainstream media and Democrat politicians, they act on it. G-Nice says, Pretty didn't threaten to shoot ICE. In fact, he was unarmed when he was shot 10 times. All right. Norman Patterson, so weird to see 10,000 protesters while I'm working. Don't they have jobs? Well, I will tell you, as somebody who works in Washington, D.C., in an area where we're pretty close to where a lot of the protests happen, we get notifications like many, many times a week about various protests that are cropping up and interfering with the workday. A lot of people doing a lot of protests in a lot of places, and some people believe very strongly in their causes. G-Nice says, I'm not anti-ICE either, but I do believe the government has to honor the few rules expected of them. All right, the age of greed, says Norman Pat. There's a lot of very like money-focused people right now. I mean, I guess that's sort of the nature of living. People are always going to be a little greedy, but it seems like the age of passions has passed, and the age of money is upon us. Some people call this the age of hate, says Spyman. Quiet Castle, I don't think the protester was trying to kill ICE, and I don't think the ICE agents wanted to kill the protester. It was a bad situation. Everyone is on edge, and everyone wants to read the situation through their own lens to make the other side look like the bad guy, because that validates the worldview that the other side is like existentially evil. Maybe somebody needs to call time out on all this nonsense. That's a good idea, Spy Man. If somebody can figure out how to do that, let me know, because I think it's a good idea. Tony the Night Owl. There's footage of him directing traffic. I would get arrested if I tried to do that. I once was enlisted to try to go do that, but was told at the last second that I wasn't allowed because you have to get a bunch of training to direct traffic and obviously wear a bunch of like one of those vests and stuff. So I wasn't able to. Quiet, we are in the age of hatred. Dodger fan, these are the people who claim to be the good guys. You know it's bad when the librarians are trying to hire hitmen. All right, all right. Let's see. Wild Bill says, can you turn your mic up a little? No, I can't, but I could get closer to the mic. Had I been paying attention to the chat, I would have. My apologies. Only you can start forest fires to prevent bears, you guys. That's not a bad analogy. Lurky, I made the mistake of telling my brother I voted for Trump last November. He hasn't talked to me since. Well, there's a lot of straw manning going on, and Lurky, your brother, well, to straw man your brother probably believes that you are an awful person who believes awful things. Norman Patterson, my liberal brother, is constantly bashing Trump, and the USA drives me bonkers. Nightbot says, please help the channel by making a comment or two on our videos and after our live streams. Thanks. That does help us, guys. I know we do the live streams. We would like to get comments in the video, in the chats, like as we go live here. It's really fun chatting with you guys. It's one of my favorite things in life. But it also helps the channel and the YouTube algorithm if you go and comment on our videos after the fact, like the actual regular comments. We don't get credit with the algorithm for having a very active chat during the live chat. We only get credit for having comments on the videos afterwards. So even if it's just to say hi and drop a couple of thoughts here and there, those comments do help us out. And I appreciate how much you guys have all helped us sustain this channel over time. There, I did see there was some doctoring of his picture to make him look more, I don't know, like congenial on some of the news outlets because, man, like the media is just pathetic these days, isn't it? Like, it's really pathetic. All right, all right. Let's see. A fair, Bill says, is a place where drug addicts operate dangerous thrill rides. Yes, that's a different kind of fair. Norman, railing against the protesters during work should be illegal to protest during the workday. Inquiring minds, there ain't no good side, there ain't no bad side, there's only you and me, and we just disagree. Well, that sounds like the lyrics of a John Lennon song. Maybe that's like more like Bob Dylan. That's more of a Bob Dylan lyric. Participation trophies. People have forgotten how to lose, and when they do, they can't handle it. Quiet Castle. Too many out there want completely open borders and to pick and choose which laws they want to follow. Not Beefy Productions, good to see you here. Somehow I think I missed you when I was going back through the names. People work night and day shifts Which by that are you saying it should be illegal to protest at all? Well, okay, that's fair. People do work. There are people that work at all times of all days. It should be illegal to protest. I mean, maybe if you're like a monarchist who does not believe in the right of people to protest. I mean, that is a thing you can believe. You can be a monarchist who doesn't believe in the right to protest. Doesn't mean that that's the law of the land in the United States. That just means that's the law you wish were of the law of the land. Minnesota is just an example of localized insanity, says Wild Bill. There's a little bit of satanic panic logic going on here. The courts need to be more efficient on immigration matters, says G. Nice. Sorry for the sneeze, guys. I went for the mute button, but I didn't make it in time. So I hope I didn't blow your eardrums out. I tried to turn away from the mic. All a political narrative. Well, yeah, there's a lot of this. I mean, there's a lot of people getting riled up by bad media and bad actors. And, check yourself because you too might be one of them. Like, I spend a lot of time trying to, get myself out of the echo chambers that I otherwise might drift into. Don't believe that only others are subject to bad tendencies. We are all subject to the proclivity to end up in echo chambers. So check yourself every now and again. I don't mean that against any one of you. I just mean that as a general public service announcement. We all got to work on this. That's the only way we dig ourselves out of this. And reduce the power of these bad actors against us. And there are a lot of bad actors out there. And maybe the algorithm itself, just by its very nature, is bad because it preys on our worst tribal instincts to view the other side, whatever the other side is, whatever the topic, as bad. G. Nice says, don't call them domestic terrorists. I guess speaking about the protesters. Spyman says, most protests these days are not peaceful, no matter the cause, no matter the state. All right, KMVT5A is having difficulty commenting. Well, I very much appreciate your comment about how difficult it is to comment, KM, and I'm glad you're here listening to us, if you're still here listening to us. Inquiring Minds, drawing a contrast here with 2020, that, 2020 was a bit of a chaos, a crap show. A lot of stuff went down. Some lessons have been learned, maybe. Right, Castle, I guess I'm trying to visualize where this was in the argument, but it says it's just common sense. Unfortunately, not many people have it these days. G. Nice is talking about the perils of sometimes letting maybe some of the sentiments I was expressing go too far, because that chips away at our rights. Alex Pretty had a camera in his hand, not a gun. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the guy. Maybe it was cotton candy. When some dude is running a state and thinks tampons are required in boys' bathrooms, we have problems, says Lurky. Quiet Castle, as a veteran, it really pisses me off that so many people in our country hate it and want it destroyed. Some of those people, I bet if you asked them, would say they don't hate the country. But there are some that probably do, and would openly say that. Marxists and anarchists are taking advantage and pushing hard. There are definitely groups out there that take advantage of every issue, every little news cycle issue, and turn it into a wedge. Why is ICE happening in other states, but only Minnesota is having chaos, says A Day in the Life of Simone. Compounding factors, but you can blame the politicians riling people up, the media, the natural proclivity of people in Minneapolis. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons making this happen there. The answer is just because, according to Nightbot. Let's see. I thought Lane was going to share how we can solve these issues, says Norman Patterson. Is that coming up? Well, I think that depends. Depends what you view as a solution to these issues. Like, there's a hard line solution, there's a no line solution, and then there's probably a million answers in between. We could do a separate stream on solutions. It's easier to just complain and diagnose. Complaining is the easiest, diagnosing is second, solving is much harder. And unfortunately, as a lone individual, I can't solve this by myself. Much as I would like to go out and fight the rogue, well, I actually wouldn't really like to fight a rogue civil war on my own, but that mindset of just go figure everything out on your own. If somebody wants to like put me in charge of everything, I'll fix it. Like, I can pretty darn well guarantee you, with a bit of arrogance splashed in, that if you put me in charge, I'll fix this stuff with a hell of a lot more common sense than a lot of people, the people who are in charge. Now, sometimes these things are a little more complicated than they seem on the surface, but I'll fix it. Lorky, thanks for the ducks. Nightbot, thanks for the ducks. 5 ducks there. 4 comments, 5 ducks. Gee, nice. The administration chose Minnesota because Tim and the infrastructure from George Floyd. That first shooting of Renee Good was about a block from where George Floyd was shot. Could also because of massive fraud, says Quiet Castle. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how this whole thing buried the fraud scandal. Which in the grand scheme of things is probably still a bigger deal than any of this stuff. Wonder if Trump is using ChatGPT now, asking, should I declare the Insurrection Act? You know, if I were president, I would probably use ChatGPT, as well as various other AIs to cross-check the ChatGPT. Minnesota definitely told California to hold its beer on the fraud. Man, if you were a taxpayer of Minnesota, wouldn't you be pretty incensed? This is happening everywhere. All right, so there's some pizza happening in the chat. Calming the chaos. Why are we getting so much pizza here? Looks like some pepperoni pizza. All right. It jumped around. It jumped around. How do we get back to the pizza? Where was the pizza? It must have been somewhere. Okay, let's keep going. Fizzy water is polar cranberry lime. It's a good flavor. Dodger fan is a fan of the ramble. Appreciate it. Sometimes we do long rambles, sometimes we do no rambles, sometimes we do short rambles, sometimes we do multiple spaced out rambles. It just kind of depends on the day. And then sometimes we go walk around outside and experience our own Washington, D.C. ice raids, as we did the other day. James Games, I went to my first Costco and got the hot dog. Good. Why was 10 scared of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Yeah, well, that would explain why a lot of numbers would be scared of 7. If you're around anyone who is eating their fellow compatriots, that's probably someone you should keep your distance from. Directing traffic in NASCAR is easy. You just have them go straight and turn left sometimes. Well, you want them to turn left in the right spots. Otherwise, you'll get some crashes. Existential evil is evil so deep and so great it dooms the souls of humanity. It's really bad. How long do I think I would survive in a zombie apocalypse? I find zombie apocalypses really boring. I don't even know why zombies are such a thing. But it seems not that hard to survive one. Calming the chaos, my mom said I need new friends. I think your existing friends are pretty good. Have not heard from Mrs. Land in a while. Hope all is well with her. Mrs. Land made a brief cameo around the holidays. No, she's fine. She's good. She's around. Just schedules. We were planning to do some streams not that long ago. Just schedule stuff came up. Beefy, good to see you. Yep, absolutely. The weather in it's like balmy today, 2022 Fahrenheit in DC. Yeah, there's lots of ice and snow out there, and it's not going anywhere, and they don't plow it really in DC. It just sits there and bottles things up for days and weeks at a time. I'll appreciate all the blessings from folks here in the chat. What you call an explosion of a tickle? Is that what a sneeze is? High quality bologna is a weird experience. Like I thought, I'd spent like most of my life thinking that bologna was just this weird concoction of Oscar Mayer, but there's actually like high quality bologna out there, and that's like a weird experience. Norman Patterson, ever get a peak experience moment when you realize we all minds are like toddlers? Yeah, well, our intelligence as a species is relative. We're actually pretty stupid compared to ultimate intelligence, and we're pretty smart compared to like, amoebas. But yeah, we have pretty base instincts. Jerry Carter, how's it going? Mount Rainier. Yeah, it's one of those big ones. Big, tall mountain thing. Solution is law and order. Why does it jump around like that? That's so annoying. Can YouTube stop doing that? All right. All right. Land 2028. No, I don't want to have to run for anything. I'm not gregarious or personable enough to win an election. I believe in monarchy. Like I believe in no, I believe in like meritocratic monarchy. Like whoever's the best and the smartest should be in charge. The challenge is how you decide who's that. But I'll decide because I'll start, I'll be in charge first, and then I'll decide who goes next. How's that? TV sure has come a long way from some dude with a violin to Honey Boo Boo. I went on a little ramble about Mama June from Not to Hot the other day when we were walking around in the ice. Should I do a whole stream on Mama June? That would be kind of fun. It's one of my favorite shows. Mama June is Honey Boo Boo's mom. Anybody else watch that stuff? Like, that's a good show. I would recommend it. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, that's a very good show if you want to learn about America. Tony the Night Owl, I come from the time of 3 TV stations and 5-digit phone numbers. You could get deathly sick on 25 cents worth of candy. Oh, that's an interesting question. Will Lance sneeze again on the stream? Even I don't know that. That's a good question. Walter Cronkite. Yeah, the news anchors today are pretty sad compared to the old days. Walter Cronkite and Tom Brokaw. Like, I miss those like super deep voices on the news. Peter Jennings a little higher, Dan Rather not so much, but like that old Tom Brokaw voice was good stuff. Elon Musk said he's an alien. I mean, I yeah, I don't really believe that, but maybe. Who remembers when you could go to McDonald's and get a whole meal for under 50 cents? I'd have to go look up the prices of McDonald's in 1948. You used to be able to go to McDonald's and get barbecue. But, that's what happens with money is there's inflation over time. I mean, McDonald's really is not that much more expensive relative to the value of a dollar today than it was back at the beginning. People just like to complain about how much more expensive stuff is now because of inflation. But McDonald's, like it's really not relatively any more expensive today than it was back at the beginning. G Nice wants to take back comments and likes. Oh no! What did we do? Who's Curtis Yarvin? What did we do, G Nice? How do we appease you? How do we make you happier here? I don't know what I did. Land wants to stream on Mama June. Um, Mama June is she's a barrel of monkeys. Like she's a good time. Let's just put it that way. Yes, there was a time when gas was cheaper. There's some good. I sometimes I watch to go to sleep. I watch some of the tutorial videos from the old gas station companies back from like the 50s and the 60s about how to do like service at the gas station. It was a simpler time when the gas station attendant would come around and try to like, uh, you know, upsell you on all kinds of crap you didn't need while you're getting your gas pumped. That was quite the day. Yeah, there was a time you could smoke a lot more places, but now you can just go do marijuana everywhere. Nowadays, the federal tax on gas is higher than the gas itself was in the 60s, but the gas tax also hasn't gone up in a long time, and so the gas tax is relatively insolvent. James Games, I totally ship land X Mama June. I don't know what that means. Am I being serious about my support for monarchies or am I being facetious? Who knows? Is am I too dry on here sometimes? Like, or is that part of the point? Is to make it ambiguous about when I'm being serious and when I'm being not serious. I think that's the point. You could join the Mile High Club in a plane. You could do that, but usually you'll get arrested for that these days. They don't really like you doing that. Plus, like, what plane is flying at a mile high? Like, that, like, if you're, like, that's like a shitty prop plane, like, in the Caribbean is going to fly at, like, a mile high. No other plane flies at a mile high these days. A dime in the 1920s would today still buy you a gallon of gas because it was silver. A dime in the 1920s was actually would be worth $2.7 million in today's currency. Lurky. Okay, giving a PSA here. Don't smoke, guys. Like smoking bad. Curtis Yarvin is an American far-right political blogger and software developer. Pen name Mencius Moldbug. Moldbug? Who picks the name Moldbug? Mama June. Yeah, well, Mama June she's dated a lot of guys. That's true. Yeah, mile is 5,280 feet. Inquiring Minds is 5,800 feet. We need to do a stream apparently on how many feet are in a mile. Oh wow, we got to the bottom of the chat. Okay, somebody post a lot of comments really quickly, or else we're gonna have to end the stream. I do appreciate the work of our mods here tonight. Quiet, Castle, and Jeanette, and James Games, and I guess Nightbot counts, since Nightbot's in blue also. Monica also hangs around sometimes. Appreciate the work of all of our mods here on Land Speculation on YouTube. Don't forget to drop a like and a subscribe on the video if you have not already. The likes help us out with YouTube. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. We stream fairly regularly. Even when we're not streaming, we post a lot of videos. As you've probably noticed, we've got lots of stuff in the queue. There will be more. Not every day. I can't even promise every other day. But there's lots of stuff, both here and on our sister channel, Landducks International, which is linked in the description. The description also has a link to our Discord, which anybody can join, as long as you agree to abide by the rules, as well as our Duck Fund, which is our Buy Me a Coffee link. I always appreciate the super chats here, but if you still have extra money you want to send our way, the Buy Me a Coffee link is a great place to send it. The winner tonight is Spyman. Congratulations to Spyman. If you were a mile high in Denver, you would be 10,560 feet in elevation, because Denver is already about a mile high. Ah, Bill is giving us nautical miles. So we learn things every day here. Appreciate it. Miles 1,700 meters, right? 1,700, I believe. We could do like a tutorial on all the stuff you forgot from like math classes and whatnot from grade school. That would be kind of fun. I learned a lot about whales when I was in school. I've said that before, but I just need to reiterate how much I learned about whales in school. If you need to know the length of any whale, I'm your guy. Like, don't even bother looking it up online. I'll tell you how long the whale is. Arctic Cockwe, thanks for the ducks here. Appreciate it. And I don't know, if you're hanging out with us and you happen to be new, like, and, you know, if this one was your cup of tea, great. If this wasn't quite your cup of tea, we'll do other things too. And I always am open to feedback. Landspeculation@gmail.com is the email address. We aim to please. And we can only be successful if you guys agree to be our best friends. And for you guys to be our best friends, I need to make you all very happy. So I hope everyone's happy. Are you guys happy? Okay. Go have an existential discussion about your happiness forth in the chat. I'm going to end this stream, though. Appreciate the conversation. Appreciate our mods. Do all the like and subscribe stuff I just said, in case you forgot. Do it again. All right, well, that's about it. We'll be back. Don't be strangers. This is land that ain't just speculation, and for now I hope you all have a good night.